Agentic and generative AI. What's the difference and what do we need to know for our insurance agencies? Look, these two terms are being thrown around a lot with vibe marketing. And I like to compare it even back to the API and virtual assistants from a few years ago. These were just kind of fancy terms that kind of hit the insurance industry. Because let's be honest, the insurance industry moves around slower than probably any other industry. But with implementing these things, we've got to go back and remember a few things. And look, we're at an incredible opportunity right now in the insurance industry. We're really at a fork in the road, and that is opportunity and threat. Depends how you look at things. A lot of people look at threat of, hey, I'm going to lose my job. It's doing away with me. I like to take a look at opportunity, and that is, how can I create a better customer experience for my customers? In fact, how can I create the best experience in the industry? And I think that's what you should be thinking about with this. How do I do this? Whether it's with automation, AI, humanity here. I like to combine all three. And when looking at things like generative AI, we have to think it's reactive. Agentic AI, which is a fancy term that people are throwing around, just really means proactive. It goes way deeper than that, but that's just kind of a simple way to think about it. When we're thinking about generative, we're talking about things like chat bots. These certain like LM models like ChatGPT. They're being responsive to what you're putting into them. But the agentic can go the next step and learn and actually do things for you. And that's where we're headed. But it's not a matter of, hey, should I replace my staff? Is some staff going to get replaced? Absolutely. In fact, I think the top 20 to 30% will be what's left in the industry. I actually think VAs will play a bigger role in the future than they do now. But in looking at this, you've got to think, how do I support my staff? How do I create a better customer experience? How do I read the customer's mind, like each stage of the process? And look, when we have pieces of content, whether it's with a marketing client, whether it's inside of our insurance agency, what we're looking at is what pieces of content can I provide through the sales process, the renewal process, the service process, and we're effectively labeling it. AI could help label those things, understanding what needs to go automated. Maybe a human sends it out. Maybe AI does it for us. But the customer then understands, hey, I really understand now that I'm in the right place. And so that's what you've got to think about when you're implementing AI into your agency. You've got to have the framework to understand, look, I'm here to do two things: remove problems and remove friction for the customer and my team. That's the mindset you want to have before implementing vibe marketing. And look, all vibe marketing it's taking these things like NAN, it's connecting these different bots and these different AI agents to do a lot of the work for you. Is that where the world's going? Absolutely. But let's not get lost in terms. Let's not get lost in what I call the shiny object syndrome. Because look, I've been there. I used to move around CRM to CRM until 2018 when I decided to invest in HubSpot. Almost 8 years later, I'm still in HubSpot because I got focused on what was the actual problem it was helping me with. What was the extra friction that it's making me remove from my agency? And that's why we're still on it. In fact, my team has a joke that if it doesn't happen in HubSpot, it doesn't happen. And so HubSpot plays a vital role in helping us remove frictions and problems every day. Not because it's a fancy toy or fancy tool in our industry, in our agency, but because it's actually helping us do something. That's how we want to think about AI. This thing's really cool, but does it do one of these two things? Does it remove the problems or help solve the problems? Does it remove the friction? That's what you want to think about when implementing AI. So when you're looking at these different AI tools, think about those two things. When you're thinking about generative AI and you're thinking about agentic AI, and understanding the difference between these two. And look, I'll do a deeper dive into our private community about those two and understanding them, how to implement one and the other, where it should kind of be a combination of both. Because look, the majority of you are using generative AI right now, but I bet the majority of you are not using agentic AI, but it could value you very well. But you want to be careful when you do this so that you're implementing it the right way. So let's just keep that mindset as insurance agents and agency owners as we're implementing AI. And look, if you want help implementing AI in your agency, reach out to me. I've been implementing in my own agency for almost 4 years now. And I'm a certified AI coach. I'm a certified messaging coach. And so we've been doing this a long time. We've been implementing it, AI and the messaging, bringing it all together now for almost a decade, building out a niche. So I'd love to have a conversation with you to see where you're at in your journey. Comment below. Let me know where you're at in your journey. And I look forward to continuing to do these videos to help you through this process as we go through this process, as we all learn every day. Also, if you want to jump into our circle community, where we do a deeper dive in this a few times a week, let me know.